All right, we're back in the Cybertruck now. We're going to be heading to the Kempower event. So this will be the longest FSD drive that I've been on yet. This will take us all the way up 880 North across the Bay Bridge and into San Francisco. So let's see how that goes. Let's give it a shot here and see if we can initiate full self-drive. In the past, it has not wanted to initiate it from the start. So let's see if this goes any differently. I am sure there's something I'm doing wrong here. Let's see what happens. There we go. I just give it that little nudge. Give it that little nudge. And it starts to go from there. So let's be on our way to San Francisco, guys.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Burnham Way.
One day I'll learn to turn that off. So here we're coming up on some road construction and a red light. So let's see what happens as we go through this intersection. And it comes across these orange cones, and we've got a city bus here on the right. We got some traffic on the right. We've got some cones and construction on the left. I am really curious how it will handle this. And it is moving over. It's recognizing it. It's got the turn signal on, and it is moving over to the right-hand lane. Great job, full self-drive. That is awesome. I was definitely prepared to take over, and wasn't necessary, so that's reassuring. Oh, it had to brake a little bit aggressively there as we came up on that yellow light turning to red. I do wish it would have reacted a bit more quickly. If that was me or any regular driver, I think would have accelerated and made sure we made it through that light, but it kind of didn't make a decision there for a while, and when it finally did, it had to give some aggressive braking, and we are just partially here into the crosswalk, which is not an ideal situation. So it really should have either decided sooner and slowed down, or powered through and gave it a little bit of an acceleration. But I think what it does is sends a mixed message to the people behind us and gives an overly aggressive braking that I don't think a regular driver would have done. So not the end of the world by any means, but these little details are the things that are going to make all the difference when you're talking about a robo-taxi or a lack of a steering wheel or accelerator pedal altogether. So might sound like nitpicking, but these are the things that are good to notice and just kind of understand the limits of where it is today, which I'm sure will improve tomorrow. Here we go. If you can make a green light, it really can save you quite a few minutes there. So again, just one of those reasons that usually people are going to accelerate just a little bit to make it through that yellow light. Because stopping there, here's another example of a yellow. So it really should be giving it a little beans there, a little acceleration. Nothing ridiculous, but when it turned yellow, it really should be deciding, okay, let's get through this light. And doesn't mean you've got to slam, on the accelerator aggressively. It just means you need to give it a little bit of extra to get your way safely through. It's twice that it's beeped at me to pay attention, but I'm paying attention. Maybe it doesn't like what I'm saying when I'm criticizing it. It's beeping at me and telling me to shut up and let it drive. I'm like a backseat, front seat driver now. I don't think FSD appreciates it, and it's beeping at me. So this time it made the decision, and you can see that Tacoma blew that red light. So that is definitely the better of the two decisions. Come to a stop, don't blow through a red light. But in that instance, it made that decision a lot earlier than it did in the other two examples. So I'd like to think it's learning, but I think that was just happenstance or coincidence. All right, let's see how it does entering the freeway here. We're getting on to 880 North to head to San Francisco. It is, I would say, just a little bit past rush hour, although traffic never dies down here. We do have our first metering light that we're going to come across. It is red, and it does recognize it, so that's good. I wasn't sure how it would do with the metering light, It's gone green, and it handled it well. So perfectly normal, the way any driver would. Excellent job by FSD in that circumstance. Now, because there is some traffic here, I'm going to nudge it from standard mode. We're just going to take the wheel here on the right side of the steering wheel, this little toggle wheel, I don't know what to call that. We're just going to give that a little nudge. It doesn't just scroll up and down, it also nudges left and right. So by nudging it to the right, I can go to hurry mode. If I nudge it to the left, it could have gone down to chill mode. So I do want it, because there is traffic here, I don't want it to camp out in the right-hand lanes. I want it to be a bit more aggressive here and head on its way. So just there, I did have a little instance with the Cybertruck drifting a bit to the left-hand side of the lane. So the lane markers, what it was doing is you could hear the vibration or the bumps as the tire was hitting it. And it went on for, I'd say, probably a good 5 or 6 seconds. And then it kind of recentered itself in the lane. So, again, it's not perfect. It's not infallible. It's not dead center within the lane. That's not something that I'm too worried about. But again, just something to be aware of. If you've got a big vehicle next to you, maybe it will kind of bias itself away from it. We'll see if we have one of those circumstances. But again, you just don't want to be eyes off and not be aware or paying attention, because it can be fallible. And that was just one example, minor though it may be, that it was just kind of right there on the lane marker for a few seconds and then got itself back centered again. So in this area of 880, what we saw there was the carpool lane, or the HOV lane, has gone away at this point. And so FSD has now moved us over into the fast lane. It is still only going 65. That is one thing that I didn't, because I don't have a driver profile here, it is not nudging me faster, which I would like to see. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking this scroll wheel, and as I scroll up, it's increasing the speed of the FSD. So we're going to give it just a little bit of a nudge here up to 70 miles an hour to be more reflective of how people drive when there's no traffic. Although here we're going to slow right back down again. But at least for a moment there, we had some open highway to use. But that is quickly coming to an end here as we re-enter traffic again. So some people may view FSD or similar type of, well, I guess there's not really anything similar necessarily, but even Blue Cruise or Super Cruise, they may view these as being great for long road trips, and it is in terms of reducing fatigue. But don't underestimate the impact it has on day-to-day commutes like this, where you're sitting in heavy stop-and-go traffic, which is great for an EV in general, by the way. The stop-and-go, the slow speeds, these are really where an electric vehicle shines. This is where a gas vehicle gets their worst efficiency, their worst mileage, and where an electric vehicle, even one as big as the Cybertruck, gets the best efficiency. That regenerative braking, constantly putting a little bit of energy back into it, low speed, low wind resistance. This is ideal for a day-to-day commuting type situation when you have electric, especially if at home you've got solar. I mean, that is just an absolute game changer. But don't fail to appreciate just how great this is to be able to get up, tell the vehicle, take me to this location, take me to work, be in this commute traffic, and just let the vehicle kind of do the heavy lifting. Again, you still have to be engaged, still have to be aware of what's going on around you. You never know what kind of tomfoolery will occur with all these vehicles that are not using autonomous driving. But as it becomes more common, as they hopefully one day, probably a decade or more from now, begin to communicate with each other and start to really synchronize and move about the highway together, it's going to be so much safer. And even within this early version of autonomy, where you still have to engage and pay attention, it is really a cool benefit to be able to just let it do the driving for you You could be listening to music, a podcast, shout out Turn Down for What podcast. Don't forget to check that out. Follow the link in the description, like and subscribe for some great EV content and conversations. But any of those situations just make it easier when you have the autonomous driving. There is a lane closure here, and there is a CHP vehicle in the next lane over. So let's see what full self-driving does here and how it handles it. There's an interesting gap here where there is one CHP vehicle and then a big gap and then another CHP vehicle, and let's see if it just follows behind the CHP vehicle. I have a feeling it's not going to identify these lights. This is a great test for FSD, and I feel like my impression here is nope, I am mistaken. I was really sure, shout out to this Cybertruck here passing on the left going the other direction. I was really sure that it was not going to recognize and move over. Oh, it is moving over here. I did have to disengage there. Okay, that is what I expected. So it, on full self-driving, it was trying to move back into that lane. And I am going to leave it off FSD right here, because what happened was there was a CHP officer there blocking the lane, and over here there is, it does not like that I did that, I was trying to show. But over here, yes, there is another lane closure vehicle and another CHP officer blocking these lanes here on the left. So FSD didn't know that. It was going to try to use that lane. And now that we have passed that second CHP officer, we can now head back over and resume FSD. So let's get it back on track. But that is a perfect example where the technology isn't quite ready for prime time, and it just doesn't know the context of the situation. And I'm not sure how that gets programmed or how that gets resolved in the AI, but that was really cool to see, and just a really good example of where your awareness has to always be, you know, on point and ready and active. Wasn't a dangerous situation by any means, but certainly a circumstance where the vehicle just had no idea the context of what was going on there, and it was going to try to go back into those lanes that it shouldn't have been in. So with that said, we're now passing through the city of Oakland. We've got the Oakland Coliseum up here on the right. This once great town, and for those that don't know, San Francisco is referred to as the city, and Oakland is referred to as the town. So you'll see that sometimes back on the Golden State Warriors jerseys or different references, they'll call it the town, and that is what that's in reference to, with San Francisco being the city and Oakland being the town. And this once great town was home to the world champion Oakland A's, huge in the 70s, with 3 straight championships, had another championship in the 80s, with some great players back then. And then, of course, the Golden State Warriors had a championship back in the 70s, had Run TMC later. And then, of course, the current iteration of Warriors started their championship run right here at the Oakland Arena. Lots of Disney on Ice and concerts and all kinds of stuff here. The Oakland Raiders, of course, played at the Coliseum, also won championships here. Just a great sports town, and it's really sad to see how they've lost all of their teams. Also a drive-in movie theater right up here, and just over here next to the Oakland Coliseum used to be Malibu Grand Prix. And what was great about this area was you could take BART from anywhere in the Bay Area, and it literally drops you off right at the Coliseum. You go to Malibu, you check out the ball game. Sometimes you'd have a baseball game in the day, and then you'd go to a Warriors game at night. Just a truly great town to be in. Jack London Square, a great hangout with lots of great restaurants, and it's really just turned into a ghost town now. There are really very few things open anymore. And Lake Merritt, great area where we'd have outdoor concerts. Digital Underground would play there. Tupac kind of hails from this area with Digital Underground. Here you can see the old drive-in movie theater that now is just a swap meet and flea market. So again, just sad to see a once great town kind of erode itself for a number of different complex social, political, philosophical reasons. I sure would love to see this town turn around again and get back on track. a real shame to see what it's become. So let's carry on and get back on track, heading over to the city and get ready for this Kempower event. Let's see how it does as we approach the Bay Bridge here in a little bit. One last mention as we pass through the town of Oakland, there is the Tribune Tower here to our right, and this is the former headquarters of the Oakland Tribune. This is my favorite paper that I used to read as a kid when I would wake up as an Oakland A's fan. That was the paper of choice for me. Loved the Oakland Tribune, and it's got a great tower with a big clock on it that lights up at night. Looks really spectacular. One of my favorite buildings in Oakland. And again, just one of those things from back in the 1900s where I'm from, when you would wake up to the morning paper and see the box scores and see how the team did from the night before if they had a late game that I fell asleep for. And you didn't have the internet or any of those things to know what was going on. You just woke up and opened that paper and you looked at the comics and the sports page. That's what I did. Here you can see coming up ahead, we've got the city of San Francisco. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge over here on our right. You can see the port of Oakland on the left, one of the biggest ports in all of the U.S. Down there, you've got Los Angeles and Long Beach down south, but here in the Bay Area, the port of Oakland is the place that everything comes into, not San Francisco. So huge shipping containers here, lots of infrastructure, a real critical hub to getting things onto the rail yards. It is slowing down now, all the way down to 50 miles an hour. Maybe that's it is the speed limit is 55. So I'm gonna have to adjust that. Again, I know there's a setting in there. I didn't set the offset correctly, so I've got to give this a nudge because it really slowed down quite a bit. Nobody goes 55 through here. Hey, shout out BART trains. Those things have really been impacted since COVID. All the folks that started working from home, they stopped taking the commute, the BART commute into the city, and it's just decimated public transit in the Bay Area, especially BART. It's really teetering on bankruptcy, and it's going to have to raise funds through taxes and bridge tolls and any number of other bond measures and things to try to get its funding. It's definitely not making the money it needs to make to operate anymore. So here we're getting into the interchange that's going to bring us into the Bay Bridge and San Francisco. You would go to the right to head up to Sacramento and the North Bay, the Napa area. Here we're going to go to the left and head across the Bay Bridge. Approaching the Bay Bridge, I'm curious how it will do as we get to the toll plaza and how it will move through that space. So again, I'm going to be prepared to intervene if necessary. Here we're coming up on the toll plaza. Let's see how it handles it. Let's see how it does with speed. And I do have my fast track up here, so it can pay the toll. And this one here has fast track available. It did pick the lane. This is a very, very narrow toll plaza. Valid fast track. All right, it went right through it, no problems at all. So that was great to see. I was definitely prepared in case something went wonky on me, but it handled it great. So up here we do have some metering lights. This is again very common, not just for the on-ramps of the freeways in the Bay Area. Same thing with Los Angeles, by the way, they do the same thing. But here onto the bridges, they do these metering lights. And so what happens is everybody kind of just takes a pause, takes a beat. It then will turn green and you'll head forward, and it kind of has a pattern where it releases the vehicles, because there are far more lanes here at the toll plaza than there are on the bridge. All of these lanes are going to compress down to just a handful of lanes on the bridge itself. So this metering light system here is allowing the traffic to kind of keep a flow going once it reaches the bridge. This can back up for, you know, a mile or two the other direction during the peak of rush hour traffic. Right now, it's not too bad at all. So I expect FSD will not have a problem dealing with the metering lights, and you can see here that it is visualizing them perfectly well. So I don't expect a problem, but as always, I am prepared to intervene if necessary. Here we go. Let's see how it does. I am going to assume it will do well. So let's check it out. We've got our red light. And now we've got our green light. Come on, man, go. A little bit of an extra pause there. I would like to have seen it be a bit more assertive and reacting to that green light quicker, but it's fine. All right, we are officially on the Bay Bridge, and this is the new section that was rebuilt. This span that goes from the Oakland side over to the island in the middle here, where you'll see it, that will go through a tunnel. This section here has been fully replaced, and back in 1989, during the World Series between the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants, I had just come home from school getting ready to watch the game when an earthquake struck, one of the biggest we've had in the area since all the way back in the early 1900s with the big San Francisco earthquake. And it actually had a section of the bridge that collapsed. Real tragedy, different fires in San Francisco. There's a whole span in Oakland, double-decker span that collapsed as well. So that was repaired, of course, and then over the years, this is a section of bridge that's been totally transformed, and it is no longer a double-decker section of the bridge. There is a section on the other side of the island that you will see that is a double-decker, and that's still the original span. But this section here has been replaced. We're going to go here. You've got the bay on the right and the bay on the left, and the Golden Gate Bridge just up ahead on the right, and then San Francisco on the other side of this island that you're going to see. So this is called Treasure Island. Always thought that was a cool name for the island. They have some housing that they've developed there. Military has been here for a while. Also Yerba Buena Island. Lots of businesses are there. I got to imagine that it's pretty expensive if you're taking the bridge to get to and from your work or your house on a regular basis. I'm certainly glad that I don't have to do that myself, but a lot of people do. They commute across this bridge every day for work, and that toll definitely adds up. And certainly if you live on Treasure or Yerba Buena Island, that's just got to be one of those things that hopefully you have factored into your cost of living. So here you can see a little bit of a better shot of the famous Golden Gate Bridge to our right. My wife and I got married on a cruise ship down here, a Princess Cruise in San Francisco, and we sailed to Alaska right underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. It was quite a great experience, absolutely fantastic, and loved it. And it was kind of ideal for a wedding because you can invite people onto the ship, have the wedding. They did the cake and cleanup and ceremony. I had a buddy of mine that was the officiant, Mark Helton. Shout out to him for doing the marriage ceremony. And yeah, then the folks got off the ship, and you didn't have any pressure to have it be a lengthy thing at the reception. You had a time frame that you were under. Everybody understood it. And then, man, we were off to our honeymoon on the cruise, and we had a lot of friends and family with us along for that. And that might seem strange, but it was really great because you could really celebrate that entire week together, where there was plenty of space on the ship and in the cabin to have our alone time and special moments and to go on different adventures and excursions. And then there was lots of time with family that was super cool to kind of share the moment with. Here you can see we're going through the tunnel of the Treasure Island connection, and this is where it goes to the older section of the Bay Bridge. One of my favorite areas. I really like this design, this old school design, similar to the way that the Bay or that the Golden Gate is designed here. I think this is a way cooler look for a bridge, so I prefer this. It is the double-decker side. Again, it's held up well. It's never been replaced. They just pretty much maintain it constantly to make sure that everything is safe, and I'm sure they've gone through and painted this. I know with the Golden Gate Bridge here to our right that we're now passing again, they basically paint that entire bridge, and by the time they get to the end, they have to restart and paint it again. Not sure if there's a similar cadence or schedule with this section of the Bay Bridge or not, but I really enjoy what this looks like. So let's share this cool moment together as we get ready to enter San Francisco. Now on our right, you can really start to see all of the famous landmarks and the skyline of San Francisco. And then over here on our left, you can start to see Oracle Park. Used to be Pac Bell Park when it first opened. the home of the world champion San Francisco Giants. They had a bunch of championships there in 2012, 2014, and 2016, I believe it was. And in fact, I proposed to my wife on the day that they won the World Series in 2012. So that was a cool moment. Kind of got her at her moment of celebration and joy to increase my odds of her saying yes. And a year later, we were married. So less than a year later, we were married, actually. So always fond memories of that championship season. All right. Now we're going to get into the most challenging part of this drive, which is city driving in San Francisco with the different intersections and off-ramps. We are 0.2 miles away from the exit. And I'm sorry, we're not 0.2 miles away. Sorry, we're just, I think this is going to just transition here, this intersection. So it's still a little bit a ways for the exit. But this is going to be where I'm curious how it does. And I think I don't want to keep it in hurry. I think I want to move it now to standard. I don't want it to be overly aggressive here in this environment. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious. I'm almost tempted to put it in chill. I definitely don't want it to make an error with all of these different vehicles around, traffic around, different decisions to make. I'm still getting comfortable and confident in the system myself. It's done quite well overall these past couple days, and I've really enjoyed it and been impressed with the technology. But that said, I am still finding my limits of when and where it struggles. So I'm trying to work within those limits as I start to gain confidence in it. So we've got our exit here just under a half a mile away. We're going to exit where it says Golden Gate Bridge. We are not going to go over the Golden Gate Bridge. That's just the same exit you would take to hit the 101 freeway and head over the bridge. All right, it made its way over pretty well in traffic. It accelerated appropriately to get into a safe position to change lanes, and it is making this transition really well. Certainly an interesting question if you were coming to the city on a regular basis, or certainly if you were living here, would the Cybertruck be a good choice? It's such a big vehicle. It's going to be really hard to park, really hard to maneuver, especially through the streets. With that said, there is a rampant problem with people breaking into vehicles, smashing windows, lots of different aspects of being in the city, which are not ideal from a safety standpoint. And being in the Cybertruck with these windows as durable as they are, with the body panels being as durable as they are, there is certainly an advantage and something to be said for that aspect of the vehicle. But it is just such a big, bulky beast that from a practicality standpoint, I don't know that it is the best choice. I guess it just depends if you have some nice big parking, a parking garage, how often you're kind of going through the city traffic, trying to maneuver this big thing. Of course, it does have the four-wheel steer, so that is a huge advantage compared to a truck like my Lightning. And I have driven the Lightning down here a couple different times. It's not my preferred means of transportation, to be honest. Most of the time, if we're coming to San Francisco, it's for a Broadway show, or it is for a Giants game, or to see Pier 39 or Fisherman's Wharf or something to that effect. So most of the time, if I'm coming to San Francisco, I like to take the ferry from Alameda across the bay and either go to the Giants game, which it drops you right off from Alameda, right there outside of Oracle Park. or it will also take you to that Pier 39 Fisherman's Wharf area as well. So that is my preferred way to go if I'm going to any of those destinations. And then if I'm going to see a Broadway show, I take BART. It just, again, you know, drops you off right there in front of like the Orpheum Theater, and a couple others are within walking distance of it. So really, those are the ways that I like to get to San Francisco. Occasionally, with a bunch of people, we'll take an Uber, but I prefer either BART or the ferry. I definitely don't like to drive. Lots of crazy traffic, panhandling, drug abuse, difficulty with parking. I'm always a little paranoid about what I'm going to come back to with the vehicle. You know, in this circumstance, we're just coming to the city for this Kempower event, and we'll hopefully have plenty of parking on site there, and it won't have to be street parking or anything. And I'm really hoping I'll get to charge the Cybertruck using one of the Kempower chargers. I think that will be really great because those do have enough voltage to really open up the full charging potential of the Cybertruck. So I'm curious if we'll get that opportunity or not. So let's head through this intersection here. We are now crossing over to Mission. Mission is a famous street here in San Francisco, and let's see how it handles. It's trying to move over to the left here, and it's doing a great job of it. So it's going to keep on going here. There's different aspects to driving in the city, and including cable cars and bus lanes. And here you see an area where there's a street that goes straight, but there's some pausing here by this Chevy Bolt. All right, here we go. Now here we got a UPS truck that it's got to try to navigate. Oh man, tight squeeze. Again, I was ready to take over, but it did well. Well, we've got some orange cones. Will it recognize the cones? It does. It recognizes the orange cones. Fantastic job. Again, these are the little aspects that I'm just prepared to take over for, and I'm really pleased that it was able to recognize that. It's something that it's got to be able to do. And this is where we're now in the home of Waymo, and Waymo's done a lot of miles here using their version of full self-driving, their autonomous driving, where there is nobody in control. They are connected and monitored by Waymo, but it is really the home of Waymo here in the city, where they've done all of that mapping of these roads. Let's see how much further we have to go here. We got a couple more turns. We are coming up on this Kempower location. At some point, I will have to take control just to figure out where to park. Hopefully, it will be self-evident when we arrive. Love the architecture of San Francisco. It is really a beautiful city, and hasn't gotten to the point that Oakland has gotten to, but there's certainly aspects of it that are so disappointing. So many small businesses have had to close, so much crime. The streets really smell sometimes, and I really wish they would do a better job of cleaning that up. But there's that balance between dignity and respect for people, and sometimes that compassion, while understandable and admirable, sometimes it unfortunately goes too far. So here we are trying to figure out where to park. I'm gonna have to figure out where I go for this event. I do not know. I can see the Kempower chargers. I'm curious if these guys will let me in. Welcome to San Francisco. You get a little bit of the flavor for what's on every street here, unfortunately. Let's head in and enjoy this Kempower event. Thanks for coming along with me.